Before you begin, it is important that both your DVR and PC are hooked up to the same router, and there are no other routers behind the one you're using. First, you will need to go to the network settings at your DVR. The default login will be 0000. Right-click to get to the menu and go to the Advanced Config. Then go to Network. You will need to change the network type to DHCP. Once you do that, hit the exit button and restart your DVR. When you are back in, go back to Network in the settings and write down IP and port. The IP is the IP of your DVR. For the next step, you can go to your computer. First, we want to test to make sure you can connect to your DVR locally. Go ahead and open up a web browser and type in the IP of the DVR that you wrote down in your address bar. This brings us to the login screen for the DVR. Username is admin and the password is admin. If it prompts you to install any ActiveX controls, go ahead and do that. So now that we know we can connect to it locally, we can proceed to the next step, which is setting up the DVR to exit from the outside your network. To do this, you will need to set up port forwarding in the settings of your router. To access the settings of your router, you need to know the router's IP number or the default gateway. You can find this by clicking on the Start button, going to the search bar, and type CMD, and launch the command prompt here. Here you can type ipconfig, and hit enter. And you can see the default gateway right here. Go ahead and open up a new tab in your web browser and type in the default gateway in the address bar. Here you will get the login for your router. Each router will have a different username and password. If you are not sure what your router's login information is, you can look it up at portforward.com using the model number of your router. In this tutorial, we are using a Linksys router. The default login for Linksys is admin, and the password is admin. For Linksys routers, port forwarding can be found under the Applications and Gamings tab. Here you'll need the information you wrote down earlier when looking at your DVR network settings. Here you can put the name of your port forwarding rule. You can name it whatever you want. The port range is where you put the port, and the default port was 80. And here you put the IP of your DVR. And click Enabled. And then I'll save. Now you should be able to access your DVR from outside your network. In order to access it from outside, you need to type in the external IP of your network into the address bar of your web browser. To find out what your external IP is, you can go to whatismyip.com. However, the IP that it shows on this website is dynamic, and it will occasionally change, and you will need to look it up again to see what it changes to. There are two solutions to this. You can either purchase a static IP from your internet service provider, which will never change, or you can set up a DNS account. These WEBMVP DVRs happen to have a built-in DNS service. You can find it. You can go back to your DVR here. You can find it under the Configuration tab and under DDNS, which is under Network. And once you're here, make sure it's enabled and go to System Name and go to Default. Under Hostname, you can name it whatever you want your DVR to be named. And then you just put in your email address. And then hit save, and it should register it. And what you will type into your address bar is your hostname .ddns.dvrtw.com.tw. When you type that thing right there, it'll go straight to your DVR.